Hey guys, I was gonna see this movie over the weekend, and I really, really wanted to. I just didn't, because a lot of things that played into not being able to see it. I mean, honestly, I am glad I saw Valerian, also, because, real quick, I'm not gonna do like a full updated thoughts video, but I just want to address one little thing real quick in this video. The more I've been thinking about Valerian, just over the week, the more I have actually started to like it more. And while I still agree it's not a perfect movie by any means, I do actually think now it's a little bit better than I previously thought when I did my initial review. So I am glad I actually did end up seeing Valerian. I still would have preferred to have seen this over the weekend instead, but let's get into Dunkirk. So Dunkirk tells the story of Dunkirk. It was this big thing in World War II that a very famous thing that happened, and you know, it's history, World War II, this is right up my alley, because these are like my favorite kinds of movies, are historical movies, and especially World War II and World War I. Those are like, I wouldn't really say my favorite time periods in history, but very interesting to me. So, first thing I want to address is the timeline issue. And it's not even really an issue, it's just something that I found to be, a little confusing, I guess, before I mean, I looked into it before the movie, but even then I was still a little confused throughout the movie. So basically, you have the movie is split into 3 portions over the hour and 47 minutes of runtime, which I think is Nolan's second shortest movie. I think Following is a little bit shorter, but this one's pretty short compared to his other ones, because his other ones clock in at like 2+ hours most of the time, so yeah. So firstly there's The Mole, which is the story that's set on land, and that takes place over a week. Then The Sea takes place on the last day of that week, and then The Air takes place on the last hour of that last day of the week. So it's a little confusing at times. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, and so basically at the end, all 3 stories kind of converge at the end into one big cinematic, climactic sequence, and it's amazing. So I think this movie is amazingly shot. I think this movie is just beautiful also. Visually, it's just spectacular. My main problem, though, is the fact that I was very confused at times on which story was which, how it was connecting to the other stories, and just how it was really working together. Like, there are parts where in, like, one story, say The Air, I'm not pulling this example straight from the actual movie, I'm just thinking of an example off the top of my head, but say in The Air you see a boat, and you're confused for a moment, you're like, is that the boat from The Sea, or... And then there will be a boat later in, like, The Mole, and then you'll be like, oh, well, is that the boat? And then you'll see the planes, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess. It's just a little confusing at first on first watch. I would like to probably see it a couple more times just so I can kind of get a full grasp of it. But it's definitely an interesting spin on Nolan's non-linear storytelling, because that's a big thing in his movies, is non-linear storytelling. And this is definitely an interesting way to do it, because you have 3 stories with 3 different sets of characters spanning over... The entirety of the movie is spanned over a week, but then you have each story is like a certain amount of time. And they intersect a little bit here and there at first, and then you get the finale where they all converge. And so I thought that was a pretty amazing way to tell the story. I just wish it wasn't as confusing sometimes. But another cool thing I found out about this movie is that it was shot in Dunkirk. They actually shot it on location in Dunkirk. So that's really cool. I think this is one of the best and most suspenseful war films ever made. Now, I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan yet, and a lot of people say that that's like the best war movie ever made. We'll see. I haven't seen it yet. It's one of those movies where it's like I've heard so many things about it, and I've heard it's like very intense and kind of hard to watch at times. So it's been one of those movies where I've just not really taken the time to watch it because I don't usually like to get into movies that are like super real and stuff like that. And that's part of the reason I didn't want to see this movie at first, because I thought it was going to be like very real, like Saving Private Ryan, and it was going to be very intense, and I didn't really... It's not that I didn't want to see it, it's just that I didn't want to see it in the theater. But yeah, I ended up seeing it. The Hans Zimmer score is also amazing. If you guys know Hans Zimmer, he does some really great scores. He did Man of Steel, he did Batman v Superman, he did the Dark Knight movies also, I think James Newton Howard did Batman Begins, but I'm pretty sure Zimmer did Dark Knight and Rises. And I believe he also did Pirates of the Caribbean, so dude has a pretty vast I don't actually know what you call it, but now we get into a bit of the critiques. Let me first say my favorite portions of the movie are the storylines of the air and the sea. Just because I thought those stories were the most interesting. They had the most interesting characters. The characters there actually had character. They had more dimensions to them. Mostly the sea, the air, they didn't really have that much character to them, but the dogfight sequences were just so good that it made up for it. Now, I'm gonna get into my big, I'm gonna get into my big criticism here. The mole is a slightly dull portion of the movie. It's the portion that takes up the most of the movie, seeing as it's set during a whole week. And it just didn't really, hit me that well. The characters, I thought, were very dull and one-dimensional, and I get it, it's probably historically accurate. These guys, in real life, you don't get a full backstory for everyone you meet, or everyone that you witness, but this isn't real life. It's based on a real event, but it is a movie, and in order to make a movie work, if you're trying to have characters in that movie, you have to make your characters actually have character and be sympathetic to the audience, so you actually care about them when something happens, like, say, a friend dies or something. You actually have to care, and you don't care if they don't actually have a character. I will say Harry Styles, not bad. Not bad by any means. Apparently Christopher Nolan didn't even know he was a musician when he auditioned for the part, and he just got the role based on the fact that he was a good actor. So I had hopes, and he did not disappoint. I was expecting him not to be that good, because, it's another singer trying to get into acting, but he was good. And I actually found out that Michael Caine has a voice cameo in this movie too, which is great because I was wondering if Michael Caine was going to be in the movie, because he's in like 80% of Nolan's movies, so I was expecting something, and he was in there. I didn't catch it, but he was there. But I definitely think this is Nolan's best movie to date. I still prefer The Prestige overall, but I still think this is his best one, which means it's taken the top spot away from Inception. Guys, I'm gonna give Dunkirk an A+. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, I honestly only have that one complaint. But thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.